So, to get started, my name is Ойвінд Шарnінг. I've been working in FundCom since 2000. I worked with retail before that. Done some work in support with FundCom. Delivered 50 patches for Anarchy Online as QA manager, as well as the expansion pack Noten Wars. And working on my third title now as a project manager. Delivered Shadowlands and Dreamfall. And working now on our unannounced MMO. The one that's coming after Conan. The one that's going to be much better than Conan, of course. Okay, the purpose of this presentation is giving you an overview of how we produce our games, with focus on project management. Marius took care of some of the creative parts earlier. Just a few key things. The production process of FundCom is divided into different phases, as you can see on the top there. Our focus is always to be driven by the market, and our process is also very much driven by milestones. I'll elaborate more on these subjects as we go along. Starting just with some key learnings from making MMOs like Anarchy Online, Conan, and from our single-player games, as well as going through our organization. I do the key learnings first, so in case you fall asleep during my presentation, at least you know the most important parts. Some key milestones and targets must be tangible, finished feature or content that can be evaluated by outsiders like management, board, or potential partners. Always make small parts of the game finished that you can present to others, get their feedback. Make a vertical slice. It's a term we've been using lately. Basically, it's make one part of the game finished. Make a small part of the game. Start out doing that. Make sure you have that small part fun. Make sure that small part is working. Implement all your features there. When that is done, you make it broader. You start out doing very small part, have a small team, produce few assets. Just make sure that part is working. Then you increase your team size and produce more content. Efficiency. All your leads must be dedicated only to administration. If you think you can have leads that do both produce content and administer others, you can't. No lead should handle more than 8 people. If you had teams that are bigger than that, you should divide it. All team members must be tracked every day. Tracked by a lead and give feedback on progress. On quality, have reviews. All your team members should be subject to reviews. Make sure everyone gets feedback on the quality of their work. Have task teams, or strike teams, as I think Marius called it earlier. Use those to either just sort out a subject at hand, like for instance, you have a problem with your build process, you make a strike team that work together for like 4 weeks fixing up the problem. Or you can have strike teams that are more permanent, like a strike team working on combat. Strike team work then consists of programmers, artists, managers, larger thing. In addition to solving the problem at hand, task teams or strike teams are also very good in empowering your organization, since they work on the cross of your organization. You have people from all the different departments. Estimation, which is for you, those of you that are developers, you know that's a very hard part of it. On all projects I've been a part of, people consistently underestimate. If you have employees that do not underestimate, I would very much like to hire them. Always use your max estimates for planning purposes. If you estimate with minimum and maximum, make sure you use your maximum estimates. And always have a buffer. Some people operate with like a 20% time buffer, other with 50%. But at least have a buffer, at least 20%. You will underestimate, so you need that buffer. Another keynote, focus on fewer but perfected features. Always be clear on what's your core gameplay. You probably want to implement tons of features in your game, but make sure you are very clear on what's core. Whether it's to be combat or your RPG system, your magic system, just be clear on what's your core system. And work on that first. The way we organize our projects, we have a project management team. It consists of the game director, which is creatively responsible, project manager, which will be my role, basically responsible for delivering on time and budget. Together we run daily morning meetings. We start every day having a meeting with the whole team, making sure everyone knows what's focused for the day, giving information what's been going on, those kind of things. We have weekly tracking meetings on my team, I track people every Friday, and we set up goals every Monday. So start the week setting goals for the whole week, for the whole team, then we track it each Friday. Project task team is basically leaders of the project together with the leaders for different other parts of the organization, like sales and marketing, Jürgen here. Other game directors might be there, operations, services. Basically we meet and discuss everything that's across of the company, across departmental issues. In addition to that, we have a quality task team, which basically could be game directors from all our different teams. At the moment we are developing 3 different MMOs, so we kind of have a large pool of people to use. In addition, we have the Funcom board, which basically gives us approval to go forth with our projects. Okay, I'll start on the different phases. First thing we do, start with the concept phase. Purpose of the concept phase is to choose and develop a new game concept for development and publishing in Funcom. Basically that phase is divided into 2. Sometimes we need a whole new project, a whole new idea. In that case we do concept generation, evaluating if this is a project we would like to do. If we know exactly what project we would like to do, then we go straight into the concept detailing, where we decide how we should make it. Very important phase, because it's basically where you you lay down the foundation for the rest of the production. Start with the concept generation. These are just some concerns we take in. Input. We consider the Funcom strategy, whether this is a game. Do we want to make an MMO? Do we want to make an adventure game? Do we want to make a shooter? Whatever. So make sure we are online with our strategy. We do market research, find out the potential for sales, find out if this specific game is something the market wants. Is it appealing to people? We decide whether we want to use a brand or we want to use our own IP. Do not want to use an IP at all. Like for Conan, of course, we chose a well-known brand. We look at our technology opportunities. Do we have technology? Do we need to buy technology? Do we need to make it from scratch? Since we have a pretty good foundation with Anarchy Online and now Conan, the choice for us is pretty simple since we already have a lot of tools, we have a lot of technology in place. We do internal brainstorming. Basically almost all the creative people in the company could be involved in that. Pull in designers, art directors, graphic artists, almost never project managers. We're not creative at all, we just track. Platform strategy. Do we want to go on Xbox? Do we want to go PC, PS2, etc.? And of course financial situation. For the concept detailing, once you've decided what project you want to do, once you have decided this is the concept we want to bring to life, you as a project manager or lead of the project, head of production, producer, there's a lot of things you need to start doing at that time. As I said, that's where we lay the foundation for a good project. First of all, you need a high-level project plan. You need to start speccing out your milestones. Don't have to be deep in detail at all, just do it high level. Basically just a milestone plan. When are my important marketing deadlines, gold, beta, etc., those things. Just put that down on paper. Do an evaluation of technology, find out the technical requirements. Start doing budgeting, find out how much this game actually going to cost. The board is often very interested in that, surprisingly. Do a competence evaluation, find out what people do I have in the company. Do I have competence enough to make this game, or do I need to hire people? Write down not necessarily just what you have, but what you need and what you would like. Do a staffing plan, set up what people you want, when you want them, and also you might want to start thinking about how to get them. At least for us, based in Norway, it's often quite hard getting new employees, so that's an important part of it. Do an asset budget. For me, that's one of the most important things on that list. Start speccing out how much assets you're actually going to make. How many playfields do you want if you're making an MMO? How many NPCs? How many animations? All of that, because that is basically the foundation for both your staffing plan and your project plan. So you should make it in a way that you can actually see that these assets I'm now going to produce will result in the need of 100 people, 120 people, etc. So that when you cut in your asset budget, you can automatically see that you will need less or more people. Do a risk evaluation. Write out what you consider the major risks for your project, whether it's your technology, your people, whatever that comes to your mind as a risk for the project. Don't care too much about finding a solution to it at that point. Just write everything down and grade it so you have a prioritized risk evaluation. Project infrastructure. Already in the concept phase, you should start getting up a project server, project drives, get your tools up and running, everything you need basically to run your project. Basic routines. Start writing down how you would like people to cooperate. Do you want to use strike teams, for instance, as we do? You should write down how you would like it to work. Initiate project tracking and tool systems. Start using, for our case, we will start using Bugzilla from day one. You should definitely have a tool for tracking. And break down project in complete task structure. Start making tasks on everything you do. The other parts of the organizations should also be part of the concept detailing. Sales and marketing, outlining strategy, outlining requirements for deadlines. These are not really things that you as a project manager would do, but you should, in my opinion, be responsible for it being done, because all of these things highly affect your job and really infiltrate in project management. Make sure the designers develop the concept, game ideas turned into a game pitch, description of environments, and especially important, have a master design document. A document explaining all the designs you need to make. Game director outlines and the CEO approves the game's must have, should have, and could have features. Again, very important that you're clear on what's your core gameplay, what's your must have features, and what features that are not that important. And you should definitely then work on them in that order. On the art side, basically make a style guide, art bible. Start making up concepts on moods. Might also want to start making some production concepts already in that phase. Pre-production, which is the most important phase. The purpose of pre-production is to establish in great detail the plans and designs for the new game and to prototype key new gameplay features to ascertain their feasibility and the risk associated with them. That's one long sentence, but it is really important. That's basically the goal of this phase. During pre-production, you should also get all the technology in terms of tools, development tools, project management tools up and running, at least established. Pre-production should keep your team pretty small, in my opinion. Have a skeleton crew. Be sure to implement your project management. You need your project manager, game director, art director, or producer if you like. Have concept artists, graphic artists, senior designers, senior coders. Keep it small, like 10 to 20 people at most if you're doing an MMO. Most important thing you should do in your pre-production phase is get a prototype up and running. Put the team together, decide on a small part of the game, make that part, and you don't proceed to a production phase until you have that small portion of the game working well. Make sure that it's fun, make sure it's working, make sure you have implemented your features, because if you're not able to do it in that small prototype, you will not be able to do it in production. And basically you'll waste a lot of time, a lot of money, and management will be angry. Also, another important thing we do is pre-visualization. That's something we basically started with now recently. We do it on the graphic side. There we actually call it pre-visualization. It might be renders of animations. It could be concepts of sky domes. Basically, we disregard our tools. We just sit down with 3D Studio Max, Photoshop, and we create how we would like the game to look. So you can make animations in Max or Maya of how you would like your combat to work. Then you have something you can show the programmers. You can tell them, okay, this is how I would like my combat animations to look in-game. So make pre-visualizations and use it as a tool when you proceed in your production. Do the same thing on the audio side. Get your audio director or your musicians. Just make music, make technical prototypes of how they would like sound to be in the game. Then you can use that also to show the programmers, show them I need systems that support this. And the designers also make play cases, written down examples of how they would like gameplay to be. Again, used then to measure up what the programmers do. On the project management, at this phase you need to reevaluate everything, because things will have changed and you have more people, and making the prototype will it will basically force you to reevaluate everything, because you will understand that things are not as it seemed in concept phase. So reevaluate your budgets, your time frame, your structure, your asset budgets, risk assessments, everything. At this phase you should also start following your staffing plan, start hiring people. If you work as a project manager, you will spend a lot of time in interviews. That's just part of it. Also, establish all your project standards and start weekly tracking of all tasks for us in Bugzilla. Rest of the team, focus on tools. Your programmers should at this time start working on tools. All major development tools and engines must be operational. Again, if you don't do that during pre-production, you're not ready to go into production. It has to be done. Same with version control systems. I'll talk more about that a bit later. Game designers should basically work on system and content design, spec out everything that needs to be done during production. Again, priority to core system. I cannot stress enough how important that is. You don't want to have a situation where you have 10 coders, all of them are working on different features. Be sure that you prioritize. On the art side, continue research, producing concepts. At this time they should start doing a lot of production concepts, so that when you staff up on the art side, you have concepts you can that the artist can use. Complete the art bible and style gap. World designers start production of playfields, priority to the gameplay prototype, all the vertical slides. I'll go through the different tools. Oh, thank you, Sergey. Can you hear me better now? Okay. I'll run you through what I consider the most important tools in our production. First of all, we have tools basically to manage people, or not to manage, but to inform people. Each project has its own information portal where we post daily news. We have an archive of all important documents, summaries from all meetings, guides for new people, charts, whatever. Everything you need to know when working on a project should be on your information portal. In addition, we use a lot of mailing lists, news group, where people can discuss almost whatever they want. To manage people, we have tools for tracking whether they are at work or not. We do attendance reports every day, run vacation plans. We have, bottom left there, we have tools actually for tracking hardware, software that people need. Pretty basic stuff, but just wanted to mention it. It's important to know where your team is. Most important, Bugzilla. Top left there you see our version of Bugzilla. Basically everything that's been worked on in Funcom, it has a task like what you see on top left there. So whether you're doing a small graphical piece for a game or you're working on a major core system, you'll have a task like that. In that task, each person fill in minimum estimates, maximum estimates, time spent. You can go into the different tasks and you can see priorities, you can see dependencies to other tasks, you can see the whole history, who's been working on it before you. You can see who's responsible, what milestone it needs to be done. Basically everything you need to know. So nothing is being done in production in Funcom without a Bugzilla task on it. Now that means that each person on the team can get their own lists of whatever they need to do. Like you see down right, that's actually Mario's task list. So you shouldn't be here, Mario, you should be at work. Everyone can just hit a button and you get your own list. That's what I need to do. All your tasks prioritized, and basically you can just work from that task list. So the view Down to the right is basically how each employee on a project sees his task list. I, on the other hand, see it like this. I can punch in all the people on my team, and I get up a list of everything they've been doing for 1 day back, 2 days back, for the whole week. Like you see top left there, where it says Anders. Under there it says like 2 tasks. That's what he's been doing the last 2 days. And the tasks below that is what work he has scheduled in front of him for the next 30 hours of work. So basically I go to this website, I punch in whether I want to track 5 days back, 7 days back, 1 day back, and I just choose what people I want to track, and I get up a list of everything they've been working on. For me, this tool is priceless. That is what makes me in control of projects. Also, we can use it in a bit of a larger scale. Top left there, you have basically an Excel tool where we import all our Bugzilla tasks, and we can change a lot of them at the same time. So I can go in and pick out all tasks related to a certain feature, change the priority of all of them, close all of them, etc., etc. Just basically doing it in a larger scale. Bottom right, you can see just how we use Bugzilla to make graphs. For instance, when I close in on a deadline, I can make a graph to see if the amount of tasks is decreasing or increasing. If it is increasing, then we have a serious problem. It should definitely be decreasing, of course. But I can also then make a line and see whether we're actually going to make the deadline or not. Are the tasks being reduced at a fast enough pace? So Bugzilla is what makes us able to actually control our projects, basically. We also use Microsoft Project, again based on Bugzilla. We import all the Bugzilla tasks, which makes you then see what each person has to do for each deadline. So when I'm planning deadlines for my project, I usually import all Bugzilla tasks into project, and I see how long time it will take. Basically, you have then everything assigned to each person, and I can see if you're going to make a deadline or not. Then I make the deadlines based on that. Other tools we use for documents, we use something called RCS, which is basically a document management system. We have all our documents in a large database, and that allows several people to work on it at the same time. You can check in and out documents, you can see the status, you can see the history of them, you can merge and compare documents. Also really, really handy for designers and people writing a lot. On the code side, we use Subversion, basically the same thing, only on code. Each portion of code that enters the game has a code, it's being checked in, and you can easily then pull it out, you can merge it to other branches. Basically our way of keeping track of the code. Also then, people like me can get a mail each time a new portion of code gets into the game. So every time a coder commits something or a designer commits something, it goes through Subversion, and I can see what people have actually put into the game. Or the lead coder often do it. On the art side, we at this point use Alien Brain. Same thing for art. We just put everything in a huge database with keywords. You can search for resources if you need to make a bucket, for instance. You go into Alien Brain, search for bucket, usually find a couple, don't have to make it over again. Really handy to have asset management tool on the art side, as it allows you to reuse to a much larger degree. Also, it puts a bit more pressure on the artist to be more structured. You should have naming conventions, everyone has to use Alien Brain. Artists are not really that structured. Production phase. During the production phase, the bulk of the new game will be developed. That's basically it. The hard thing is the pre-production phase. If you do the pre-production phase right, then the production phase will be much easier. It will cause you a lot less stress. The team size is brought to full size. All necessary production tools and technological setup is in place, and the team executes on the plans established during pre-production and also during the concept phase. with ongoing adjustments and iterations. You have to adjust it as you go along. As Marius mentioned earlier, you never get it right on first try. That goes for everything within project management as well. What you'll be doing during your production phase is basically reviewing, re-evaluating. You review absolutely everything that's being made. Code, art, designs, everything is reviewed. And on the project management side, you re-evaluate everything. Re-evaluate your budget, your staffing plans, especially your asset budget, your project plan, of course. Re-evaluate on a weekly basis. Make sure that your plans and documents are realistic and reflecting the actual situation. Always be on top of things. The staffing, it should basically be done when you start production, but it never is. At least that's usually what you write in your plans. Start production, staffing is done. It never is. So you'll spend a lot of time interviewing people, trying to hire people. Project task team, which is basically then the management of the team and managers from the rest of the organization, need to plan and coordinate the development schedule to other plans. At this time, you will be working close with departments like operations and network. If you're working on an MMO, they will have a lot of work setting up a server park, those kind of things. Just setting up a server park for your game will take you 6 months, so you need to plan ahead. Customer service build-up, of course. You need a large customer service team, hopefully. If you need a small one, then you're not a success, unfortunately. Development of customer service tools, QA build-up, sales and marketing plan, etc. Important to work on that during your production phase. Milestones. You must always work towards a milestone. The team will work much better when they are pushed, but not stressed. That's important. You don't want a team where everyone is really stressed and make mistakes and get agitated, but you want a team that's actually pushed a bit. So it's kind of a hard balance, but you have to find that balance. So always work towards a milestone. Keep your milestones realistic. Your team must believe in them. So if you have milestones where you intend to get in too much content, for instance, people would tend to work less because they don't believe in your milestone. If they believe in it, they will work harder, and it's more likely that you'll make it. So what I usually do is plan a little bit more than what we can do, and then push the team to make that. Keep your milestones clear. Everyone on your team should be able to know exactly what they are to deliver. And not only themselves, but what the rest of the team is supposed to deliver. So if your deadline is making a prototype, make sure the whole team knows about it. Make sure the whole team knows that our general goal is making a prototype with combat, magic, role-playing system, one location, and one dungeon, for instance. Just make sure everyone knows that. And always track your progress every day. Every morning meeting, or when I come to work every day, sit down, use my tools, and I track what everyone on the team has been doing the last 24 hours. If I see people working on the wrong things, or if you see people not working at all, you should react. But be sure you track progress every day. Bring it up with people at once if you're uncertain about what they're working on, and whatever. I mean, it's not just that person might be working on something wrong or doing something wrong, but it might have consequence for a lot of other people on the team. You have dependencies. Also, be sure you go around and talk to people. Don't spend all your time in the tracking tools. There's a lot of things you'll miss if you don't talk to people on a team. So if you work either as a producer or a project manager, you should talk to everyone on your team every day. Just go briefly around the team room, talk to people, look at their screens, see what they're doing. You pick up on a lot of things then that you don't pick up in your tracking tools. So that's a necessity. Briefly on the post-production phase. For an MMO, test, tweak, and launch phase of the project need to be 6 months. In general, that's our experience. You need 6 months when you're done with production to sort out all the bugs, to make adjustments, basically make the game polished and good. During this period, no new code-based features will be introduced. That's really important. Don't add any features in the end, even how tempting it might be. It will destabilize your version. Focus of the phase is test and iterate on the gameplay as preparation for launch. I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't add content in the beta phase. I disagree. A lot of people on our team disagree. You can add new content, just be sure you have control of it. Adding new content is often very, very low risk, and it's very often high gain. So I think definitely you can put in more content during your post-production or during your test and tweak phase. You should be much more careful entering new code. So in the project I'm running, we enter new content even during the last phases. I know most MMOs do that now. Just watch the balance between adding new content and risking destabilizing the game. What we usually do is we have me and maybe 4 other people on the team that you have to go through if you want to enter new content. You have to have the go from one of our 4 or 5 people. So you always know what new content is being entered, and people always have to double check before entering it. Yeah. Late phase testing is partnership with potential partners. You usually have a publisher at this time, so we will be testing together with them. Bug fixing is almost the sole focus of the team. Launch feasibility should be confirmed by outside consultants evaluating key risks. Being so deep into the project for so many years, it's often very hard for you to see exactly where you are. So it's a good idea to bring in external people, have them evaluate your project, and say what they feel. Do they feel you're 1 month or 1 year away from launch? Pull in other people that might look at it with fresh eyes. In Funcom, the QA manager has the right to stop launch. Not all companies practice that, but we do. And the final go for a launch is given by CEO and approved by the board, basically. Yeah. Last, I'll talk a little bit about postmortems. Sounds very grotesque, but it's not. We do postmortems much often than what it says here. We do basically a review after each deadline. After every deadline, we have a meeting with, if not the whole team, at least key people of the team, where we go through what went wrong, what went right with the last deadline. And we make documents, we make tasks, basically try to improve for each deadline we reach. It's also a very important part of production. It helps you to improve during your process. This postmortem is specifically after your project. You should always complete it about 3 months after launch. It takes a bit of time for things to stabilize after launch. You won't have time to do it before 3 months after. And focus on identifying successes and failures of the project. Basically what went wrong, what went right. Your main target with the postmortem should be improving your project, your development process for the whole company. So in Funcom, we have done that with Anarchy Online, we've done it with Dreamfall, we will do it with Conan. And for each time we do it, we get better in our next game. Yeah, evaluate competencies in the project compared to world class, recommended action, identify personal, interpersonal improvement areas. And in the end there, a postmortem should not be a 20-page rambling about what went wrong in the project. It often tends to be. People remember what went wrong, but not what went right. So be sure you focus on the positive things as well, so that you actually can keep doing what you do right. A lot of people are very, very happy about rambling on everything they hated with the project, and then they forget what they actually liked. That's it. That's what I have. Speed it on. Do you have any questions? Yes?
Considerable differences in developing project management of MMO and usual single.
Same process, just in a bit smaller scale. For me, this is how we made Dreamfall. or how we would like to have made Dreamfall. No, it's based on key learnings from all the single-player games as well.
So in general, everything is the same.
It's a much larger scale on MMOs. So instead of having a team of 30 people, you have a team of 200 people. So for MMOs, it's much more important that you actually stick to your production process, and you will tend to have a much larger overhead on MMOs. You will have a lot more leads, a lot more management. Because as I said earlier, a lead shouldn't be responsible for more than 8 people, so you will need to split up your project structure much more on an MMO. You will have sub-leads, you will have leads for the strike teams. So you will have much more management, and basically it will be a much larger scale on MMOs. Yeah, we have been outsourcing in 2 ways. We've been using external companies in China, independent companies, and right now we are starting our own company. Oh, we started quite a while ago, but we're staffing it up. When we work with external partners, we basically have one person in charge of receiving all the resources from that company. It is a lot of overhead, a lot of management work when you work with an external partner. So we like to have just one person, or more than one person, but at least people that are dedicated only to working with the China office or with your partner in, well, either Asia or Europe, other places in Europe. And basically everything goes through one person. I mean, that one person has to make sure all the concepts are up to the requirements for the office you outsource to. You have to make sure, for our part, sending to China, you have to make sure all the concepts are detailed enough that you have a spec with every, for instance, in Dreamfall we outsourced a lot of characters. Each concept we sent down to China, we sent with detailed concept explaining height, weight, everything on the character. We added the document explaining the background of the character, the fabrics we would like to use on the character, etc. So you have to be very, very detailed with everything you send to your outsourcing partner. Then you have to be equally detailed when you get it back. So basically when you get the character back, you have to have a checklist. You go through all normal maps, spectral maps, everything, check that everything is made correct, check that it's made with the correct settings in the tools. And then if it isn't, you send it back. Do iterations there as well. It's a bit easier when we work with our own company in China, because it's easier to do iterations. So our goal with our company in China is basically have the process no different than the process with artists in Oslo. Did that answer it?
How do you track?
I think it was okay.
How do you track tasks for external outsourcing companies?
They usually track themselves. They have they have the similar tools. We worked with a company called Interserve, and they have similar tools that we have. So they track themselves, and we basically just track on a higher level. When I outsource a character to them, I outsource typically 10 characters then. And I prioritize them for them, and they give me dates of when the different characters should be back. And I have a task in Bugzilla saying character named Ben Rime should be done this and this date, and I just track that date. If it's not done, then I complain to the office. Okay? Gentlemen?
How do you interact with your team members? Each team member fills the Bugzilla task, or they report to the lead, and lead fills into Bugzilla?
Oh, a little bit of both. We have in Bugzilla we have a hierarchy on our tasks. So we usually have a management task. Typically, I have a task saying make combat for Conan. Under that tasks, with the dependencies to that tasks, you have 300 tasks that explains the different parts of making combat for Conan. And usually we have leads or myself making all the management tasks, and then you have people filling in their own tasks under that. So we make the headings and people fill in the content basically in Bugzilla. Yes?
And if a new team is based, they have no experience, could you recommend them to start with a project, for example, an adventure project in a little lower scale, to train, to make experience, to get experience before they can start larger projects as MMOs, Age of Conan, or would you recommend them to do small projects, but quality projects as Dreamfall was? What is better, to start a big project or and make their own mistakes to make their own mistakes and to value the mistakes that they made to make better games in the future? Or could you recommend to do smaller projects to get some more experience? What is better, in your opinion?
It's a good question. I think that even though if you try to make a very small, tight, quality project, you will still do mistakes. So you will always have to learn from your mistakes. But if you aim at doing massive multiplayer games, I would actually recommend that you will try to hook up with some people that actually have experience. I would rather spend some money on actually hiring people that have experience from MMOs. Use them to give experience to the rest of your team. If you want to make an MMO, I'm not sure if I would start by making a very small adventure game. I think I would rather try to get experienced people from making MMOs or get experience from working in an other MMO company.
Okay, thank you.
Yes? I don't think I'm going to spec out the whole team, but I mean, if you have on an MMO, you usually have maybe 100 people internally for working on the team.
At least a percentage of.
Okay. It depends, though. If you have existing technology, you will have a lot of artists. A large percentage will be artists. If you're building your technology from scratch, you will have a much larger percentage of coders. So it's kind of hard to explain, but for us, though, that work with existing technology, we have maybe 40% artists, 30% artists, 20% coders, 20% management, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I'm thinking now, how many artists do I have? How many coders do I have? But for us with existing technology, the largest part of the team will be artists. You'll typically have maybe 30 artists in-house. You have the same amount outsourcing. You maybe have like 20 coders. It varies a lot. It's very hard to answer actually, because you could do a snapshot and say, at this time I have this many coders, this many artists, etc. But if you go back in a year, you will have a completely different setup on your project. So, a bit hard.
From large scale
Also a very good question. It's really hard because, well, when you start a project, you need a project manager, game director. That's usually, at least in Funcom, that's usually not a problem because you have several of them and you can easily transfer them between projects. You need concept artists, which is also often pretty okay to transfer between projects, because when one project is closing in on the end, they don't really make any concepts anymore, so it's really easy to transfer that to the next project. What is very hard is transferring senior designers, senior programmers, and senior artists, because when they are hooked up to a project, they are so important in that project that they probably won't be done until several months after launch. So I don't really have like a silver bullet for that. It's very hard. In Funcom, it's a big discussion where you include project management for both projects, from the one that's ending and from the one that's starting, and together with CEO, and together often with HR, since they handle staffing. And then you start setting up a staffing plan. What people can you transfer from the old project to the new one? What people do you need to hire, etc. What is really important is that you actually discuss this with well, for me, making a new MMO now, we've had that discussion with the Conan team. So,
already involved.
yeah, I mean, we are making a game based on Conan. To make a game based on Conan, you need people with knowledge of Conan, and you want the ones that have the best knowledge, so you want to keep people. So it's a big discussion, and You basically just have to agree. Both parts will lose and win some. I mean, for the project that ending, they will try to keep their senior people, and for the project starting, they will try to get them all. And you end somewhere in between. Yeah. Any other questions? In the back.
Can you please elaborate on your experience in Scale and Brain?
Of my experience?
On your company experience in Scale and Brain?
Like what I've done?
Maybe I'm just interested in something.
Oh, on Alien Brain. We've actually just started using it, so I don't know that much about it, to be honest. We trying to implement it on our existing projects. That's a bit hard. On the project I'm working on, we implement from scratch. What we basically do is we set up a folder structure where we try to structure up every location that's going to be built, every character that's going to be made, and we split that up to meshes, textures, concepts, everything. And we made a naming convention for everything. Put that into Alien Brain. We have a convention for all keywords you need to put into Alien Brain, so that you can easily find things by searching it. And we are currently working on making a bit of a better previewer than the one that comes with Alien Brain. Our goal with it is that for future projects, they can just fire up Alien Brain, do a search, and find a lot of the resources they need. So it has some impacts on the way we produce graphics. We make everything more module-based. We make everything more separate. And it requires that the artists are a bit more structured in the way they name all the assets and in the way they input keywords. So, any other questions? Sergey.
When are you opening office in Kyiv?
This evening. Thank you. Thanks. That's it then?